Cape Charles Town Council regular meeting scheduled for October 16th will come to order. Let us have a roll call.
Tom Gavin here. Chris Bennett here.
Bennett present.
Brian present.
Wendell present.
Natalie here.
All are present. We have a quorum. We'll start with the invocation.
Ms. Bennett is a moment of silent prayer. Amen.
Remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've had a request to make one modification to the agenda relative to the recognition of visitors and presentations, and that is to swap the Clam Slam Committee presentation with the Friends of the Cape Charles Memorial Library proclamation. Is there any objection to that by anyone on the council? There being no objection, that to the change is carried by unanimous consent. We have the proclamation for the library. This is to recognize the Friends of the Cape Charles Memorial Library during National Friends of Libraries Week, October 19th through 25th, 2014. Whereas Friends of the Cape Charles Memorial Library raise money that enables our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to present. Whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, reader's advisory, and children's services. Whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, George Proto, Mayor of the Town of Cape Charles, proclaim October 19th through 25th, 2014 as Friends of Libraries Week in Cape Charles, Virginia, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Cape Charles Memorial Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community so much better. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Town of Cape Charles to be affixed this 16th day of October 2014. And do I need a motion I'll take a motion to accept that resolution. I move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Vice President of the Friends, Emily Caldwell, will receive that.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, Emily. I have to tell you, going to the library as a kid was one of the best times I ever had. There's a library on King Sussex Street in Philadelphia that I used to go to. And I just had such a great time. You guys are doing that for all kids in town, and they'll remember it when they're old, and they'll be grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is a Clam Slam Committee presentation.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor and Council? Sorry, I was a little bit tired this evening, had some issues. Just wanted to touch base. This year was our third Clam Slam. It was a successful Clam Slam. Even though the weather report had forecast called it to be a complete wash, the weather was actually quite good and comfortable. Just like to recognize, our committee, they do an outstanding job. I just want you all to know, without the committee, and the volunteers and stuff, it wouldn't be possible. With Jim Lewis, Joe Natale, Beth Davis, Chief Chris, Marine Jeb Brady, Andrew, on Pete, Jimmy Pruitt, on and on. The list goes, you've got it in front of you, but it's, without all of them, and then of course Deborah keeping us all straight on our money was, it's always a good plus. So, as you can see, recreation, we had many games and stuff. Things, we had Mermaid this year, which was nice, and that was brought to us by the Moonrise Jewelry. Face painting, dancing pig, believe it or not. The only thing that was a mishap out of all the games and stuff was the bouncy houses and stuff. They didn't cancel, or they canceled because of the weather forecast. We had lots of arts and crafters. Food and beverages was pretty good. Food vendors, I think we can improve a little bit. On food, tried to do some more quantity, but the fire department did a very good job of providing seafood and stuff. I think everybody was pretty happy with that. We had the medical courts was there, which is a big plus. They helped out a lot considering our volunteers to ambulance services and stuff was limited in the whole area, so they were there with the tent set up, was very nice. And of course, the love sign we brought over, which was a good backdrop. Music, we had a lot. We filled in some blanks with some extra that weren't planned, but just to keep things going, we thought the music was very important. And we've actually been reached out by certain bands and stuff already that wants to play next year for a class run. Races and contests, the clamming contest, I think that was pretty good. I think that'll be better next year. If there is a next year, I hope it's going to be next year. Cornhole contest, everybody loves the trophies. I will say that. Smith Island Skiffs, they've got better every year, and they're going to be better next year. We've already I've met with those, discussed a new raceway act that incorporates the whole Main Street time and everything else. So I think grab bike pool race, a little bit of confusion in that all the time when we're trying to do the squall and we actually drop them early so people missed it. We won't do that anymore. Bow hockey contest, that's kind of our main gig. I think everybody had a blast, and it was a very good turnout. This year we added fireworks. Some confusion with the fireworks because of the weather and stuff. Some people might have thought it was canceled, but I can tell you after the first boom, we knew there were fireworks. Sponsors and VIPs. We have 42 sponsors this year. Total right around $19,000 to $20,000, somewhere in that area, sponsorship fund. We've already got 4 new ones next year that's called up and asked us to be sponsors. Some's local, some from Accomack. I think everybody sees that this is as far as a crowd, and it's a good turnout. VIP section, we did something different this year. There were some things last year. People had to buy their own food and stuff. This year we provided food and some alcohol over there. I think everybody enjoyed that. It cost us a lot of money, and I think it's going to get us more sponsorships for the future. The financial report, I broke this down in a couple different ways. One, we spent more than our budget. Then we budgeted, I'm sorry. But we took in more than we budgeted too. And so I broke it down with basically the event only revenue side, and then if you look on to the right, that's with docking fees, fuel sales, and stuff like that. The second page, Deb did an outstanding job of keeping track of this and breaking it down. And you can see their total expenditure, their budget, the actual. We had with just the event itself, we have like a $300 net. But with the dock and everything, it's like $7,500. So That's, and that ain't counting a lot of tax dollars and stuff that was brought in. You can see on the next page, our night stocking, it started the year, the first year you see 2010, that was before we had the Black Hole Union War Crime Slam. As you can see what it's done for that weekend in general, it just continues to climb. And the same with the fuel line. That just tells me we have more power bills in this year than in the previous years. Overall, basically, we've already started the planning process for next year. The new areas to improve, the boat ramp parking area. There's some stuff going on with that that we can discuss at a later time. Do more music. I think the flow of music, just keep music playing, I think is good. We need better sign system for the contest, which we can do. It's just a matter of doing it, and you know, just try to promote it and get more attendees here. Basically, what I would like to do is to kind of get a nod to move forward, so I can start moving forward off this as possible.
Thank you, Smitty. Any comments from council on this?
I think it was a wonderful job. We had underhead and everybody else. So we did really well. I enjoyed it, and that's it. Good job.
We had some friends here from Vermont. They loved it. Like the boat docking, the Smith Island boat races, the whole thing. So I think every year it's going to get better and better. It's nice work. I don't think we need a motion.
I would just say that as a member of the Friends for Central Park, consumption of margaritas has been fantastic.
We try.
We try. We try.
Thank you, Smitty. Next item of business on the agenda is Holly Carpenter of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm informed that Ms. Carpenter is unable to make it this evening, so we're going to skip this part of the agenda. And I assume we'll schedule her for another time. I'm going to now open this meeting to public comment. Do we have any? Two. All right.
Emily Cullen. Good evening, everybody. I'm Emily Cullen, 129 Churchill Downs, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Friends of Cape Charles Memorial Library and the Friends of the Library Week that's coming up next week. I have here a poster that you may have seen around town. I was going from business to business today, putting these up. We have 3 events coming up next week. Tuesday, the 21st, from 3 to 5, we will have a guest lecturer who will talk to us about genealogy. We will also have a video playing of Who Do You Think You Are, which apparently a lot of people have heard of, season 1. So that will be playing in the background. We'll have refreshments, and we'll be selling some things and giving away some things, so hopefully we'll have a lot of attendance there. Thursday, the 23rd, from 5 to 7, we will have someone from the Eastern Shore Community College who will talk about how to write a resume and how to find a job on the internet. And we will then have refreshments and people from the Friends and board explaining about the Friends and getting people hopefully to sign up for the Friends and that type of thing. On Saturday, October 25th, from 10 to 12, we will have a video about sign language. I was hoping that we would have someone to actually demonstrate sign language, but I'm having trouble finding somebody. The one that we had lined up has fallen through, but we will have something, I am sure. And additionally, at noon, we will have a drawing on the raffle that you may have seen around town. About 7 different locations in town are selling raffle tickets for their 3 prizes. The Kindle HD Fire, which is a brand new 6-inch Kindle, plus a $15 Amazon gift certificate is prize number 1. Prize number 2 is a $25 Amazon gift certificate, and prize number 3 is an absolutely gorgeous 2 GB USB thumb drive with our logo on it. So hopefully, a lot of people will buy raffle tickets. I happen to have a few right here if anybody's interested in buying raffle tickets. So that's what I wanted to let you know. Thank you very much for your time. And we hope to see you all at one or more of the events next week. Okay?
Be sure to leave the this year, we're going to be leaving that later.
Yes, but I happen to have something I'm trying to convince next to me to hold on to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
The end vow.
Good evening.
The microphone.
My name is-
And the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Duval, and I'm here to encourage you to go on with the basketball court that the town manager had talked about over a year ago. And the thing is, where are the kids gonna play? Okay? And it's really several things. It's a team thing, playing with your friends, socially, making friends, and this is all part of growing up. And this way, they won't get in trouble when they're playing basketball, because they'll be there every day. And the thing is, also, over a year ago, the town manager had written a letter to an organization stating that they had 2 sites marked out and planned to do this basketball court, which is right next to the skateboard. And I'd like to see you go on with this, okay? Because right now, nothing is being done, even though the town manager said that she okayed it. So that's basically what I'm up here. And also, I think it's in your comprehensive plan that you would provide recreation centers, community centers. So I think it's all positive that we do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else signed up, but I do have 2 comments that were submitted in writing.
Please go ahead.
The first one is from Sheila Burge at 117 Mason Avenue. It says, "Dear Mayor Proto and Town Council members, I'm sorry that I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting personally, as I had a previous meeting scheduled. However, I would like to speak into the record about the Pine Street parking lot you'll be considering on this evening's agenda. I recently read the staff report for the agenda item addressing the conceptual plans A and B for the Pine Street parking lot. First, let me comment that I am delighted to see the mayor and council addressing the long-term needs of the town's parking supply. For many years, additional parking has been contemplated, and it is a bonus to have the space become available with the acquisition of the former Bank of America, now our beautiful library property. Secondly, I do realize that the site does have some constraints, but I am writing you to encourage you to think of the existing constraints as assets to the Pine Street area of the historic district. Particularly, the lot has the existing sidewalk grid connecting Mason, Pine, and Randolph, and it has the mature pecan tree, which is classified as a signature tree, Cape Charles Tree Plan, page 3, contributing to the significance of the streetscape along Pine Street. Cape Charles Tree Plan, figure 1, page 4. I urge you and the Planning Commission to consider and adopt concept B as presented by Land Studio. There are several reasons I would like to offer to support that recommendation. The adopted Cape Charles Tree Plan urges no net loss of the tree canopy as a policy, see page 9. In the tree ordinance, section 1.2 states the intent of the ordinance is to protect appropriate existing trees. This huge, mature pecan tree is a signature tree worthy of extra consideration and deliberation. 2, only 4 parking spaces will be lost in adopting concept B, and a larger bio-retention area would be created along with keeping this tree and with the use of pervious pavers, resulting in greater stormwater management control. 3, perhaps the use of pavers throughout the site could be considered, enabling more stormwater retention for recharging the aquifer and for minimizing disturbance to the root system of the pecan tree. 4, this tree is a unique asset to the town in that it cannot be replaced, perhaps even in our lifetimes. While a smaller tree could be planted in its place, it would take decades to replace the one that stands today. 5. Finally, if concept B is adopted and constructed, and if the pecan tree were to die, additional parking and landscaping could be recaptured at that time, so there's no need to rush to remove the tree now. Thank you for considering my comments in your deliberation. The second comment is from John Burtis at 117 Mason Avenue. Dear Mayor Proto and Town Council members, please let me endorse fully the comments sent to you by my wife, Stella Burge, in a separate email about plans for establishing public parking at the corner of Pine and Randolph. I would also suggest that you consider engaging a tree steward or a professional arborist to evaluate needs to maximize parking and save the monumental pecan tree in the process. As many of you know, I was actively involved in the efforts to acquire the former Bank of America property, which included the lots behind the bank, with the long-term plan of moving the library, repurposing the old library, and providing some public parking. Steps 1 and 2 have been done well and have proven to be very successful. I now urge you to not overreach in order to obtain a few extra parking spaces when the gain in public parking spaces without disturbing the tree will be significant. Lastly, the cost to remove a tree of that size, which will likely be substantial, can be used to offset any increase that might occur if pervious pavers are used versus asphalt. Thank you for your consideration of these comments.
Are there any other comments? Given there are no other comments, the public comment portion of the meeting is closed. We now move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda format?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
The agenda is approved as shown. I need a motion for approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Are there any additions, subtractions?
Clarification, December 18th, regular meeting, immediately following the public hearing. The recognition of visitors in the front page presentation. The name of the organization is legally Eastern Shore Eventacular, and we call it Eventacular in other places. Just to get it corrected, so it's official. Thank you. With no one else making any corrections, I move that all of the minutes be accepted as presented with the congregation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved with the change as stated. We move on to department reports. Treasurer's report.
Good evening. Page 1, the total cash on hand is $938,986, which is a decrease of $59,764 from August month end. This decrease is a normal cycle for the town at this time of the year before the tax bills go out. The total restricted or reserved cash is $1,365,370. Total cash in all accounts as of September 30th was $2,304,356. We have a debt service payment due November 1st, and that's for $120,586.73. That's a principal payment on the VRA loan. The credit card fees this month were 3.3% of the total credit card receipts in September. Page 2, that shows the current fiscal year fund balances. The general fund shows year-to-date revenue of $360,000 and year-to-date expenses of $528,600 for a net balance of negative $169,000. This pattern is not unusual. However, last year's expenses were less at this time. That's primarily because a $58,000 liability insurance payment was made earlier this year than last year. The prior year revenue amounts look higher for last year because there was a $40,000 higher FEMA storm recovery payment than this year's payment. Building permits are up by $8,000 and property taxes by $10,000 over last year, this time indicating increased housing activity. Public Utilities Fund shows a year-to-date revenue of $455,000 and year-to-date expenses of $341,000 for a net balance of $114,000. Harbor Fund shows year-to-date revenue of $366,000 and year-to-date expenses of $369,000 for a net balance of negative 2.7 thousand. Fuel sales are down by 55,000 over last year, but dockage was up by 19,000 and clam slam revenue was up by 20,000 over last year. Sanitation fund shows year-to-date revenue of 43.9 thousand and year-to-date expenses of 27.5 thousand for a net balance of 16,000. Page 3 is the new capital projects page. There were no payments made on capital projects in September. The report's been revamped to add project status notes. In column 2, you'll see this project start date or projected completion date. And then in the last column on the right, you'll see the percentage of completion, and that's based not on completion of work, but what we've paid for. So you can see this time down in the bottom right, we've actually funded 2% of all, only 2% of all the capital projects for the year. Would you like to go over some of the dates, or?
I'd just like to say again that I'd like to have the wayfinding signage added to this list as a future project.
A project, but not budgeted capital?
Right.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, comments?
I just make a comment with all the dire things about how financially strapped and when it went to bankruptcy. To end up at right now, at $900,000 there was never used to borrow when it started in August.
I can sleep at night. I don't worry.
No, it's just good. It's just,
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Art?
Have a motion to accept the
Oh, I'm
treasurer's.
sorry. I still have
Oh,
more pages. I just
sorry.
clicked on this little part. Sorry. Thought you were done. Page 4, that shows tax collections. This time of year, it's kind of odd because we're still reporting on last year's collections and bills haven't gone out yet. So for real estate tax for last year's bills, we collected 96% of the total bill. We'll get our 2014 file downloaded tomorrow morning and begin preparing the 2014 invoices for mail. North Haven County was late in getting that to us, but I think we can get it out on time. For personal property, license, machinery, and tools taxes, we collected 80% of the total bill. This is not acceptable, 80%, so I'm actively pursuing the DMV account lien process that should improve our collections going forward, as well as we get quite a few returned bills, even if we try to follow up. So I'm analyzing different address research websites to try to find one that's not a scam. I think I may have found one. I think that would really pay off. We get a lot returned. Those bills should go out next week. For prior year, all property tax, interest, and penalty collections this fiscal year alone, we are already at 29% of budget. This is also primarily because of real estate sales activity, which clears up past due balances, so that's a good sign as well. And then the last one is the new chart. Showing tax revenue year over year. There's one business that hasn't paid short-term rental tax yet, but I believe I persuaded them to do so. There was an apparent misunderstanding, so they intend to pay it, and that should make that look like it should. Meals tax revenue remains almost the same as 2014. However, the transient occupancy tax has increased slightly. All businesses are now current with meals and top. Most of the real estate taxes at the bottom, we've got a prior year column and a current year. Most of them actually, the software doesn't flip them until the bills go out. So most of those actually belong together as prior year. Any questions on this page?
is the county going to go next year to twice a year payment?
I've heard they are.
Will that make us late twice?
Hope not.
Anything else? Any questions, comments? I have a motion to accept the treasurer's memo.
I'm like, we accept that presented.
Second. Second. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion, the treasurer's report is accepted. Planning Commission.
In addition to what's in the report that was in the packet, I have, in the time since the packet's gone out, I received the comments from Department of Conservation and Recreation on the revised floodplain ordinance. It's a bunch of real minor edits, so I'll be making those changes. Probably send it out to the Planning Commission so they get their eyes on it and send it back to DCR for one more read-through before we take it to public hearing. Holly Carpenter was supposed to be here to give an update on the dredging. She couldn't make it. I don't have a whole lot of new information. I do know that their contractor is looking to start the cleanup work on the upland spoil site as soon as possible. I think he's going to be coming in and meeting with me on Monday to work on getting a land disturbance permit for that. And for the tourism zone, we have been in discussion with the Cape Charles Business Association to try to get some input from them on what appropriate numbers might be for the type of businesses we have in town for the amount of investment in order to receive incentives and what the incentives might be, the specific numbers. I'm planning on attending the next business association meeting to talk to them about it, just get some input from them and incorporate it into the draft. But we should hopefully have that going to public hearing in the next couple of months here. And that's all the updates I have. If there's any questions.
I think it'd be interesting to know the approach that the planning commission is taking for the tourism, part-time, part-year.
Yeah, we're looking at the possibility of offering a different, or having different requirements to be accepted into the tourism zone and offering different amounts of incentives depending on whether the business is a seasonal business or if it's a year-round business. I guess trying to encourage more year-round business in town. I spoke with a guy, Wirt Confoy, I think his name was, from the Virginia Tourism Corporation. He said he's not aware of any existing tourism zones that do it like that, but he really liked the idea. Said it would be really good for it. So we'll keep hashing that out and get a draft in front of it at some point before too long.
At a public hearing on the chicken ordinance, you were accused of spending $25,000 worth of hours preparing, business class destiny. What?
Based on my salary, that would mean 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day for 8 months. That was not the case at all. No worries.
Do you have a figure? If that one is what? Do you have an accurate one?
No, I don't. It was way less than even half of that, I can assure you.
Okay. Thank you. Motion to accept the planning. No need. We move on to the other departmental reports. Who got next? Chip. Sure, Chip.
I don't know what order you're going in. Other than my report, the only thing I'll note is, and Debbie touched on it, that housing is up. I think everybody knows that. And that it seems to be that it's going to stay up for quite some time. Through conversations I've had with developers and contractors, we're on an uptick for another good year from the contracts that they have signed. So, including a couple commercial projects. So, I actually spoke with somebody who was excited to see that we had reduced the commercial connection fees as well. Who is going to move forward now on a piece of property that's undeveloped in the old Wilson building, first floor, because we reduced the fees. So
How many houses are planned?
currently under construction, we have 11, and I know of at least 6 more, and then a couple commercial projects, and possibly some more villas at the marina.
Do you have a rough idea of what that is all worth in terms of appraised value?
I mean, I go off what contractors put on their permit applications. I could get a figure. I would say somewhere in the range of about $5 million.
So,
These are all high-end homes,
you know,
$400 to $1 million in value.
okay, so that'll help our tax base.
Oh, absolutely. It'll help everything.
Have utilities,
Utilities.
Oh, yeah.
water connection.
That's
Quite a few of those have already prepaid connections though. But hey, you know, they were smart. So. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the usage rate. Yeah.
I was at the Long and Foster thing this morning.
The grand entry.
Yes. Somebody asked me, where are we with the school?
They're moving ahead. Demolition's complete, and they're just now gearing up to start framing. They're using metal studs, so that makes it really easy as far as framing out walls and stuff. So they're on track. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. In your report, you had tap fees last year, 37,000. This year, 49,000. But it doesn't, in all the different locations, it seems to read 0 everywhere. So I was curious, where did the 49,000?
That's from July 1 until now. The ones I report are for that month. So like, if I did a tap fee in Bayside Village for the month of September, it would be under Bayside Village. The total is just for the physical year up to date to this date. I don't report, I mean, I could break it out and report that which ones they are through the year, but I only do it on a monthly basis.
Okay,
And then just put
they
it
all seem to read 0.
Yeah.
There were none in September.
Right, there was no tap fees at all.
Oh, this was just a prior month somewhere.
Right, total tap fee, that's from July 1 until now, throughout the whole town. I mean, if you'd like, I can break it out.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
This is all really encouraging. Mark?
I really don't have a whole lot to add. I do want to touch on Deb's report about the fuel sales being low. That's mainly in part because for the past 4 years, we've had the Atlantic surveyor and the survey customers doing work from home. They take anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 gallons every 2 weeks. They were not here this year. So that was the main reason. The other is that fuel prices is like 70 cents less a gallon now than they were last year. So that'll have something to do with the fuel sales dollar rates. Other than that, I don't have much. Just do maintenance.
It's good.
Any questions?
No? Any questions for anyone? Thank you. Library.
Hi, I'd just like to state that I'd like to thank the Friends for all they do, and I hope everybody can come visit us next week. And if it wasn't for the Friends and other volunteers, the library wouldn't be able to do all the things that we do. So thank you.
Thank you. Police Department.
I don't have anything other than what I have on the council report. Well, encouraging me, myself, and my staff to put on another face other than being a police officer all the time, like volunteering for different things. On the committee for Ducks Unlimited, on the Special Olympics Torture Committee. Chelsea's in the process of getting into the rescue squad. Of course, Jay Bell works for us as the chief of Cape Charles Fire Department. And I'm also filled out you know, full staff, how we, and of course, you know, we're slowing down a little bit, so now, you know, we can get other things done. I've got Tommy Potts, who's new, he's got in service in November, so they'll be gone for a week, but that's something we have to do every 2 years anyway, so he's new. And, you know, now we're full staff, we can go to different classes and catch up on things or get specialized in more broader topics. End of the year, I'm working on it now in December. For the December council packet, I guess it'll be January, but probably December. Our totals of, you know, you're getting this every month, but we're doing a totals form from January, it's not fiscal year, from January 1, when I took over till end of December. And also I'm making a list of all the professional training that all my staff has. And just so you know, I'm not going to put anybody's name beside what, it's just going to be a list of what everybody has. So if it's something you all look at, we don't want it, that's fine.
No.
Every time
No,
I have,
sounds good.
I want to thank you. I'm getting positive feedback from the people who live in Bay Creek. They are seeing patrol cars 4 times a day patrolling Bay Creek.
Yeah, well, we always patrol Bay Creek, but you
That
know, now we got these cars marked, it's easier to see. And now, you know, I guess they're figuring out some of the unmarked cars are cop cars too, so. Yeah, we spent 53 hours, and it's going in there, you know, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. It just adds up. We get 5 people now, so it really adds up. But if anything, you see the week somewhere, let me know.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much. I think things are going well. I like this idea of some volunteers. I think that's a good thing. That'll work out well.
Yeah, I think so. Don't want to overload it, but you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, you can't.
Sure. Let's see. Next. Utilities.
I really don't have anything to add to the report, other than I would like to say thank you to Granville Hogg for continuing to use his sign up there on the highway to direct people into town for the different events that we've been having. I think it's a great service he's providing, and I don't know who's feeding the information. I know, you know, I talked to him earlier in the year about something we had to move it over. I think it was 4th of July. But anyway, I think it's a great thing he's doing for the town. Any questions?
Don't tell the board of supervisors he's doing that because they don't like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Your utilities report, again, this month we had a maximum wastewater flow of 616,000 gallons in a day. I don't consider that a flow, I consider that a bypass.
Right. Yeah, it is inflow. I mean, that's where it came from, the rain event that we had.
Well, yeah, but we had them 2 months in a row. I remember the first one, I don't remember, this one is even bigger than the one last month.
Right, yeah.
It was like a 7-inch rain.
Yeah, but that's what you said last month.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Well, you know, that's the only reason we would have that kind of flow.
Okay, that's 2 months in a row.
Right.
I don't recall one.
But to your point about a bypass, while the plant is 250K average of flow, it has a throughput of 3 kilos per minute. So it will process 3 kilos per minute, just to, you know, on a daily basis.
It'll process it in one way. It'll go through the pipes and the tanks.
Right. But it just won't stay processed. But there's not a lot of nutrients in it. It's all clean water.
It's all water.
Okay. Now, this is a plan relative to manhole covers to fix some of this problem with the extra water from rain, or is that something completely different?
It's, well, I mean, it comes in from a lot of directions. You know, most of it is probably coming in through the manholes in one fashion or another. That would be my guess. The lines in town are fairly new. They're PVC. We've had them all. We've sent the cameras down through all of them. They're all look great. They're tight. They're clean, and they look good. So that leaves the manholes, the manhole covers, the laterals. So that's where it comes from. We've smoke tested the system. We've identified 20 or 30 different areas that need to be patched up. We've done that. We've identified all the rain gutters, or we've gone through town looking for rain gutters that are attached to the system. We think we know where all of them are, and for the most part, they've all been removed. The other culprit would be the sump pumps in the basements. We've been through town surveying those. I would say that we probably got 90% of those identified and corrected. It's hard to find all of them. We've been looking, and you know, we don't know who's gone back and reattached them for whatever reason after we've come through. But we'll continue to survey the town for all these for these issues. Yeah.
It's better than it used to be, believe it or not. Sure. And I think we're going to see a significant improvement once the manhole refurbishment project is done.
When we have that kind of rainfall, you're talking about anywhere from in some areas 6 inches to 2 feet of water sitting over these manhole covers. We have plastic liners in underneath the manhole lid, but still there's a lot of pressure, and it you know, it's coming in. It's going to come in there.
We're not in danger of getting a violation for that.
No. Anybody else? Anything else?
If the manhole project was completed, how much reduction would you guesstimate to that 660,000?
I think it's probably somewhere between 30 to 50% of our issues right now. Probably will be corrected when we do the manholes.
If you take Madison, they had about 3 feet of water, right, over that manhole.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a lot of pressure, and even for a short period of time, that's a lot of water that's going to get in there.
Madison just doesn't want to drive that truck through. Sorry.
Did you promise your father an exciting evening?
Yes, yeah. I've got my dad with me tonight. He wanted to get out and have a good time tonight, so we're living it up.
Any other questions, comments?
By the introduction.
Doris Father, and he's a World War II vet. One of the
Just speaking of Potomac executive.
That's right, a pioneer from the telephone company. Right.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't have anything to add unless you have any questions. Yeah, I mean, we agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing to add. It looks fine.
Thank you.
That finishes the department reports. Next item of business is the backyard chicken ordinance.
All right, give you a quick rundown. We already kind of went over some of the ins and outs of the work session. The draft chicken ordinance, if approved, would allow the possibility for property owners in the R1, R2, and RE zoning districts to raise up to 5 hens. Roosters or hens that crow in a manner resembling a rooster would not be allowed. If this were to be approved, they could be allowed on a case-by-case basis through a conditional use permit. This would allow staff, planning commission, and town council to review each application. It would also provide for public hearing, so any interested parties, neighboring property owners would be able to come out and speak on the matter. The principal use of the property where chickens would be raised would have to be a single-family dwelling, and the person who would be raising them would have to own and occupy the residence. The applicant would be required to provide both a hen house and a fenced outdoor enclosure. They'd be required to be kept in the hen house or enclosure at all times. They would only be permitted in rear yards. They would also have to meet specific setbacks that are laid out in the draft language. An annual permit would be required. If the permit was not renewed, conditional use permit would expire and the chickens would have to be removed. The flocks and coops would be inspected annually at a minimum to ensure compliance. We'd also do inspections if there's a complaint received, if there's a possible violation observed by the zoning administrator. If at any times the conditions of the conditional use permit were not being met and are not corrected, the permit would expire. And also, if the person that was raising the chickens moved out of town, it would expire and they would have to get rid of the chicken coop before they left town. Also, it was brought up at the work session that there are other conditions or situations that might not have been addressed in the language, such as wind load for big storms, hurricanes came through, the heated chicken coops, electrical heaters and stuff. Any additional items that were thought of like those could be addressed in the conditions of approval for each applicant. Just kind of a blanket condition for any application that came through. Also mentioned at the work session, earlier this year, the Virginia Code was amended and now allows police officers to seize dogs that are found attacking chickens rather than requiring them to kill the dog. So that's a positive. At the work session, we were requested to take the survey results and look at the responses from citizens who live in the historic district, as this would allow residents of the historic district to raise their chickens. Of the responses, 55 responses were from historic district residents. About 56% of those were in favor, about 36 were opposed, and about 7% answered with a maybe. At the October 7th meeting, regular meeting of the Planning Commission, after the joint public hearing, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend disapproval of the draft ordinance with the following motion. Motion that the Planning Commission recommends disapproval of the draft ordinance amendment regarding chicken keeping in town, thus continuing the position that raising chickens in town is prohibited. So with that, I go to any discussion, questions, or motions.
Motion we disapprove.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this or further questions for Rob?
I have a comment about the chickens audience. For some reason, I just can't go against not having chickens. You know, it's come as a surprise. My whole family's against me. But I have a feeling every time we make a law, we seem to take a little bit of freedom from somebody. I wish it would all go away, just not even deal with it. And with regard to the dogs killing the chickens, that's just a way of life for them. That's living in the wild. It's kind of getting rid of the problem. I lived around in Lamb Street. You can't have chickens and you can have a clean chicken coop. That can't happen. Now I would not have them myself because I always knew when I was a little fellow, every time we got ready to, we were having a good time, I think that the person should have the freedom if he owns a piece of land. You got all kinds of regulations. If you want to have some chickens in his backyard, I don't see a problem with it. It comes to that time, maybe. I always felt that I could take care of my family. I grew up and there was no social services helping people, so that's just part of the link for me. If I have to look out for my family, that's part of my ability to do it. It's called survival. I see these birds that are coming out the pond sometime. They get right down in my yard. They keep right on walking. I said, you keep on walking. You made it on my table. You keep on walking. Survival. So we can't do anything about this flying around all in the yard. So just for that 1%, that small percent that wants to keep the chickens, I'm going for it. I know it's a bit, I know I'm losing, but at the same time.
Well, at the work session, I did provide a few examples of other localities throughout the country that do allow it, and there's some that they have residences much smaller lots than what's here in Cape Charles, and they allow up to 6. I think this was Madison, Wisconsin. I think it's one of those that it's shown that it can be done if it's done right. It's just a matter of what the town wants.
Any further discussion or comments?
Yeah, I think, during the public hearing, there were not too many attendees, but those that spoke were generally opposed to it. And for one reason was lot sizes, and I do think the lot sizes personally are very small in town to have animals. The other was they would approve it if they would get permission from all their neighbors, and I specifically asked that question and was told that couldn't be part of the ordinance because that was discriminating against people that didn't have to ask to have a dog. And I don't consider dogs and chickens the same kind of pets. So, because you can't make the ordinance include getting permission from everybody that touches the lot, because of lot size, because in general, if you go online and you read about chicken keeping and you read the pros and cons, the pros are fairly nondescript. It's like, oh, that's a unique pet and they're fun to have and, people laugh. But the cons are legitimate reasons not to have them. They're noisy, they're dirty, they smell, they do this, they do that. So, for me, and I appreciate what you're saying, Tom, but, I just don't think that we should have them in town.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a question and maybe a couple of comments. In this Virginia code that was amended, doesn't that operate under the assumption that the dog would be on the chicken owner's property, getting these chickens? What, you could have the chickens getting out and being on the dog's property, and then you could have both getting out and being on a third party's property here in town. So,
right.
If I remember, the idea of having your dog seized because the chicken is running in your yard or your neighbor 2 doors over, could, I think cause a lot of.
If I remember right, the wording didn't completely specify, and I'd sent an email to the sheriff of Northampton County asking about this, how it was interpreted, and he said he was forwarding it on to Bruce, and that was where it ended. I never got a response. But from other localities that I've talked to, they say it's pretty much interpreted across the board as that's for dogs that are on the chicken owner's property.
So if your dog was to grab one on his own property, gets a pass, he didn't have to go take a ride in the free.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of. At least as I understand it, if your dog's on your property and another dog comes on your property, and your dog goes after it, you're not in trouble at that point. I think it'd be the same. If your chicken comes in my area and my dog gets it, I think I'm clear.
I see. Well, I've heard a lot about chickens over the last year, and Yeah, I agree with that. I think lots are too close. I think people are looking for healthier eggs and that all this would provide would do well, I think, to support a local county business that provides free-range, healthier, free-range chickens, healthier eggs. But I just think, I mean, most of the discussions of if it's done right, well, you know, I think I used this example last meeting. You know, we have a grass ordinance 4 inches tall, but yet a lot of times, you know, people will either sink to the lowest common denominator with some of this stuff, and however well-intentioned it starts out, and that by granting some party next door to you what you think would be extra freedom or holding on to freedoms, you could equally be taking somebody's away if it wasn't done right. So I just think the yards are too close on this one, and I appreciate you bringing plenty of information and discussion forward, but I don't see big chickens in our future here. I hope I don't.
Definitely learned a lot more about chickens than I ever thought I would know.
One other thing, you spoke about the dogs. From my experience back years ago, the weasels would kill them. There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, now that we've added another 3 hours to your $25,000, we have talked more about chickens. And it's not a hot item. That's the thing. I mean, all this blow up. At our work session that we had, 1 person showed up. At the joint session, 3 people showed up. So, I mean, have something so, it takes so much time. I'm voting against it.
Is there any other comment on this anyone wishes to say?
Call for a roll call vote.
Yes, we'll have a roll call vote on this.
We only got one.
We don't know that.
Mr. Bannon?
No.
Wait. Let's be clear. The motion is to disapprove, is to continue to prohibit the raising of chickens.
Take my no back. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So the motion is carried by 4 to 2 to continue to prohibit the raising of chickens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for your work. Okay. On to new business. Next is the Pine Street parking lot.
Pine Street parking lot. As everybody is aware, with the purchase of the Bank of America property, came a vacant, all about a parcel and a quarter behind the building, a quarter being paved, the other 2, actually 2 parcels on Randolph Avenue unpaved. Council's intent at the time was to consider that for future parking, and obviously we have also been concerned about the future parking in the business district as plans have evolved to redevelop the old grocery store property, which would remove 2 very long parking lots for public use. We modified our land design contract with Land Studio for a conceptual design. They have produced 2 conceptual designs. The guidance we gave them was to come up with a design to utilize the property really for 3 primary purposes. Number 1 being parking, number 2 being alley access. You recall about 2 years ago, the council kicked off a project to survey all the alleys, both platted and unplatted alleys within the town, with an eye toward understanding and also improving alley access for public safety purposes, primarily police protection, fire protection, and potentially in the future for garbage collection. There is an alley that exists there now. It does not come in from Pine Street. It comes in from Randolph Avenue. So we did want them to take that into consideration. And also, we have an issue with garbage service in that area. Right now, there are a couple of dumpsters on the paved area there. We have always had an issue down there of providing sufficient space for garbage service for restaurants. There are also multiple trash cans back there for the other businesses and the residences on the second floor. So we gave them 3 challenges. The lot itself, the property itself, has some challenges itself. You heard public comments tonight about the existing pecan tree. It's an unfortunate spot on the lot because it's sort of not on the edge of the lot, but it's close to the middle of the lot. The other challenge we have is that there are no storm drains in the area. So under the Chesapeake Bay Act, we have to reduce stormwater runoff 10% post-development. That all has to be done with bioretention on the site. And then the third challenge is that there is a private parking garage on the adjacent lot on Randolph Avenue. That their access is on the alley that runs down the property line between our lot and that one. It's actually 4 feet on either side of the property line. So there are some challenges. The land studio came up with 2 plans. Plan A is to remove the tree, the pecan tree, and Plan B is to retain the pecan tree. Let me just give you the highlights of those plans. Plan A would yield 34 parking spaces, 2 of which are handicap spaces. Plan B, retaining the tree, would yield 30 parking spaces. Both plans incorporate 3 pads for dumpsters. One would be dedicated to restaurants, one to the other businesses and residences in the area, and then the third would be for cardboard recycling. We would also put underground a waste oil recycling tank for the restaurants. Right now there's a surface contraption out there, and we put that underground. Walking you through this, these plans, in the public comments that you heard, there was some suggestion for use of pervious pavers. The plan does use pervious pavers. The color coding on the plan, those blue diagonally hashed areas would be reinforced concrete. We do have to have reinforced concrete aprons and a turnaround area there for the garbage trucks. If you've gone by the driveway on Pine Street now, it's already crushed because garbage trucks are accessing that. So those would be reinforced concrete. The drive lanes going east and west from Pine to the alley and from Randolph north and south would be asphalt. And then all of the parking spots, and it's very hard to tell, but all of the parking spots are pervious pavers, and that is there's going to be a need to do that for the bioretention requirements. So that is the plan. In addition, for bioretention, you see on the Plan A on the west side of the parking lot, adjacent to Pine Street, there would be a 10-foot planting zone, and that would address both bioretention and the replacement of tree canopy. That was also a comment in the public comment about the loss of tree canopy. The designers are aware of our ordinance, and we would plant sufficient trees to retain tree canopy. And then there would be a 6-foot buffer on the east side, and we would retain an 8-foot gravel alley for access to that private garage. And that 6-foot buffer would also be an opportunity Clearly, they would be smaller trees, and probably not pecan trees, because pecan trees bring other issues relative to parking lots, like dropping nuts, and not a real good tree to have in a parking lot. So that is, that's Plan A. Plan B, very similar, same three pads for dumpsters. And again, I didn't mention the dumpsters would be screened appropriately. Also, 2 handicap spots right behind the library. And, but you'd see we have to shift the whole layout to the east in order to preserve the tree. And you still wind up, there was one of the public comments was that by preserving the tree, we would wind up with the opportunity for additional bioretention area. That's only partially true. You wind up with the same amount. It just depends on which way you push the parking spot. The only piece you do pick up is right around the base of the tree, which is the equivalent of 4 parking spaces. We do have, if we did that, we do have a real challenge in that access to the garage. We would probably have to require him to take his fence down and use the 4 feet on his property, or they'd have to exit through the south side of the parking lot past the dumpster. So that would have to be worked out. The judgment of the landscape architects is that the tree roots are going to be significantly damaged, even under Concept B, in the grading of the lot, and that in a very short while the tree will die. So that's their judgment. So those are the 2 plans that they've come up with to maximize the use of that property for those 2 purposes. It's going to require some refinement. They are going to have to buff up the stormwater retention calculations. We're also working with VDOT on the width of the aprons for both entrances. They may have to be a little bit wider. And so it will have to be refined. Excuse me. The recommendation is to consider both these plans. Excuse me. My recommendation is to go with Plan A to maximize the parking, given the pending loss of parking on Mason Avenue, and refer this to the Planning Commission for their review recommendation.
Any comments, questions, discussion? Were you finished, Bob?
I am. Thank God.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Part of the plan is to include space for 3 8-cubic-yard commercial dumpsters. Do we currently have 3 cubic-yard at 3 8?
No, there's a larger one and there's a larger one, there's a smaller one at Elgin Tate. And then there's the above ground grease retention dumpster also. So there are 3 there, but they're not 8 cubic yards. In addition to that, there are 1, 2, 3, at least 4, maybe more, maybe 6 of the regular residential size trash receptacles. So the plan would be to get rid of those.
Who do they belong to?
They belong to the other business, the library, the other businesses right there. The Brown Dog Ice Cream, and whatever's next door. This is a real estate office next door to Brown Dog there. And there are 2 residential apartments above. So we have a lot of little trash stuff going on there, and we would the plan would be to get rid of all those individual ones and be able to use
can I assume, or can you confirm that if those standard garbage pails that we all use, that we roll out to the street, that's included in our utility bill? If we get rid of them and we provide these cubic yard, those residents and businesses will still be paying the garbage
Yes.
portion of their utility fee?
Yes.
Okay,
And it won't go up.
No.
I'm not asking that it goes up, I'm asking that we're not.
The town isn't picking up
things-
that. No.
We're not paying for things that some businesses and some residents that we are giving away free. to
No, the
others.
town is not paying for those dumpsters now.
Okay.
The businesses are paying for them, and the individual trash receptacles are being paid for by the individual businesses. So that will continue.
And that's, thank you, that wasn't clear. And is that true also for the grease trap, the grease?
Yes.
Grease container?
Yes.
Is that's available to all the restaurants, or is this?
Well, right now, it is there's only one restaurant, and that is being contracted by that restaurant. So what we would do is we would provide that receptacle, and then whatever restaurants were using it, they would still have to contract to remove the grease.
Okay, so our buy-in is just to put it underground. Make it safe.
You're gonna have three of the large green receptacles for the business, is that correct? Three?
Yes, one would be for cardboard recycling, that would be the plan, and then one would be dedicated to restaurant use, and one would be dedicated to essentially other uses in that area, residential and other
I'm
uses.
just trying to figure out how we're gonna control it, then you're in a public parking lot, and people going in putting their own trash in.
Where I'm putting mine.
It's hard to control now. I mean, we have, one of the options always is to lock them and then provide those people using it with key.
Any other questions, discussions?
On the handicap parking space behind the library, I know that the Friends of the Library have been trying, would like to see their book shed be put there to have the book sales at the library. Is there a possibility of moving the handicap book to?
Well, there is, you would lose parking spots.
But to have a book sale to try to raise money,
I understand.
you're the parking lot.
You lose parking spots.
But it could be done.
Sure.
There was also the question about how's the railroad, I heard this, the property, renting the property from the railroad. Where does that stand? Does anyone know?
We still have to amend the draft lease to provide the ingress and egress of the non-lease property. I just haven't had an opportunity to work with the railroad on that yet.
I think we're going to need a follow-on session on parking to see where we are, because that's rather than discussing this.
Garage access.
This is an action.
Yeah, this is an action item, so.
I'll make a motion that we take both conceptual plans and forward to plan commission for review consideration.
Right, second. So the motion is to forward both conceptual plans to the planning commission for review and recommendation to council.
I have another question.
Well, we can have discussion now, so
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Who's second?
I did.
At one point, I had thought that the town's plan initially was to create the alleyway behind Mason Avenue buildings in that block, but come in from Pine and go as far as they could, as opposed to coming in from Randall and making that 90-degree
Well,
turn.
you're showing that, if you look at plan concept A, you'll show that alley coming off of Pine, going right straight across the parking lot.
Yeah, that is true.
See the alley access.
Is that a real alley? Or is that just something somebody started using?
There is a real alley, and there are two different things going on. You're absolutely right. The intent of council was to have an alley coming in from Pine Street, and that's what both Plan A and B would accomplish. there is an existing alley that comes in, and it's a platted alley that comes in from Randolph. And as I said, it's platted 4 feet on what's now the town property and 4 feet on that individual's property.
Okay, but Sam, I don't see the alley access from behind, because what I see is handicap parking and a fenced-in area for 3 8-cubic-yard.
No.
Just drive straight through.
You drive straight through the
You see signs of alley access right beside where you see
the hash.
notation about the free commercial.
Yeah, the hash area is not fenced in. That is reinforced concrete. That's an apron. So
you're going to go right through here.
yeah, come right through here.
Okay, can I try to- Gotcha. So that's just concrete.
Yeah, they just show a different material. That's a reinforced concrete apron.
Okay. And if they were done, could the 6-foot part of the alleyway that's currently from Randolph come back into that lot? And could not the person who owns the garage come in through Pine?
Yes.
So then you could eliminate the current alley that comes in from Randolph, and the person who owns the house with the garage could come in through Pine, as well as we have a straight shot.
Yeah, but it doesn't really do anything to the parking lot. You still wind up with the same number of spaces. If we did that, we could make the driveway, the north-south driveway wider. But it doesn't give you more parking spaces.
The driveway into the parking area.
Yes.
Does that indeed not make it more functional? I mean, how tight is that 20 feet, how standard is that?
It's a little tight. We've talked with the designers to push it out to 24, which would be
Off of Randolph or off of Pine?
Off of Randolph. So we would, and again, we have a lot of moving parts here. It depends on bioretention calculations. So once we pick a plan, what they're going to have to do is balance that, widening that, still ensuring that we have enough land to meet the stormwater runoff requirements. But the goal would be to make that driveway as wide as we possibly could. And we have not yet had a discussion with the property owner relative to his or her, I don't know who it is, access to the garage. We wanted to let council take a look at this first, and once you send it to the planning commission, then we'll talk to the property owner. And, he or she may not even have a car there anymore. They may not care. But we're trying to be good neighbors. That's how they get in there now.
Okay, and the motion is to refer it to the planning commission for review.
To refer
and
to both?
recommendation, not with any particular recommendation going in as to the plan.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good now, thank you.
By the way, I mean, the goal in sending this to the planning commission is to get additional eyes to look at things like you have been suggesting here. So they'll have some time to kick it around and come back. They may come up with some different ideas, which will be fine. Right? Okay.
And my other comment is, person at Land Studio, they treat qualified person to make that assumptions, but trees longevity.
Any further discussion or comment?
Well, yeah, when the planning commission is looking at this, I'm not really crazy about these dumpsters or this grease trap. And the town paying for this. We don't have it now, I don't think. And I'm not sure why we're accepting that responsibility or that function.
The dumpsters are being paid for by the business now, and will continue to be paid for.
Where are they?
They're sitting on pavement
On the library property.
on the library.
Why?
Well,
Because I didn't want my alley anymore.
because sufficient planning was not done when the restaurant was put in there. And we wound up with a situation where we had a dumpster in an alley, which was inappropriate also. So we have a problem there that was.
Yeah, but if we're going to do this, we might want to consider other locations for these dumpsters so that this slop dumpster isn't backed up against the library. The restaurant dumpster.
Steve, in principle, I agree with you off the top of my head. I don't know where you put it.
Well, that's why we've got people to look at it and come up with ideas.
Right.
I just want to make my view known, so when they're looking at it, they can think about those things.
That's fair enough.
And personally, I just assume not let the current regular dumpsters that homeowners, normal businesses are using, just let them continue to use them, don't add any more cubic yards. Put the one in that we've already got, we're paying for.
You got two back there. You got one for cardboard and one for a regular dumpster now. That's what you got.
You certainly could do that, and the downside of that is now you're gonna have another 6 things roll around the parking lot once a week. So what we were trying to do is put something in place that was gonna be a little less hazardous.
So that is everybody down the alley going to want their own dumpster so they can get rid of their trash cans?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe not, because now you have to haul it to the dumpster. The further down the alley you go, that's more of an issue.
Well, I think our conceptual plan is just shows the spots for the dumpster. Don't say they're going to be put there.
That's all right.
I'll weigh in on this a little bit. I think it's the same kind of mindset that would have you be considerate of the neighbor to the east and his garage. It's the same premise to be considered a trunk pod and having to locate these dumpsters for businesses whose building footprint don't allow for them. And how many of those roll-around units do you want, up and down the street besides Kelly's? And, you're trying to keep these restaurants and viable here in town. So, in one instance, we're showing good neighborship to the east.
We haven't decided that yet either.
What's that?
So we haven't decided that yet either.
Let me
The Land Studio is trying to do both.
Let me ask you a question for the restaurant, for Kelly's. He would, there's no way he would be able to use trash cans, right? He's got to have a dumpster.
I don't know.
Is that true or not?
I don't know.
I'm asking the question, you don't know.
I don't. You need a lot of dumpsters, a lot of trash cans.
He had trash cans, did he at one time, though, they got the dumpster?
Well,
If you don't have any place to put any trash cans or dumpsters,
He's using other people's property.
you'd have to put them on the street, which wasn't being allowed, so they built pads in the alley to satisfy his needs. And of course, he pays for the dumpsters as they come there.
Right.
One for trash and one for cardboard. But wasn't maintained. It's been maintained better since they moved it behind the library than it was when it was in the alley.
We have a bad situation.
so, all right, so what's the request to the planning commission? To see if there is an alternative to the location for the dumpsters or an alternative to using the dumpsters, among other things, as well as to review this plan? Is that what the request is?
It's not a request. I mean, I just made comments for the planning commission to hear, and Rob can take it to the planning commission and do anything he wants with it. They're going to come back with a recommendation.
Okay.
And he can or cannot incorporate any of our comments. Hopefully he'll at least consider them and come back with a reason why or why not.
Okay.
They can come back with a modified plan or an alternative.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I think we've talked about this enough. Is there any further comment?
just remain business friendly as possible.
I hope we do too. I don't think we need a roll call vote for this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, fuel service award contract is next.
Mr. Mayor, Council, our current contract we have for fuel services at Harbor and throughout town is with Pep-Up, formerly of Bagwell Oil when they transferred the name over to Pep-Up. That service expires on midnight on November 30th. We're in the fourth year, or the last year, of extensions for the contract. Therefore, in September, we put the fuel contracts out to bid with a deadline of October 3rd. On that day, we opened up bid tabulations. We had to send out an addendum, and through email, we had two bidders, Don Will and Pep-Up Inc. bidded on the fuel and propane for the time. Pep-Up Inc. was the low bidder for the 87 octane, which is 10% with 10% alcohol. They were the only bidder for the 89 octane, ethanol free. They were the only bidder for the propane. Don Mill was the low bidder for diesel and heating oil. Council can choose to split the bids up to the low bidder, or we recommend, we're looking at, I have some issues with that. Don Mill's tanks are located in Chesapeake, Virginia. That's a very good stretch away, it's not around the corner. We have, at times, we do fuel yachts. The basis of the bid is mostly for the harbor. We do fuel a lot of yachts at one time, and we need fuel in a hurry. And I don't feel like that I can get fuel in a hurry for Chesapeake during a time in mind. Our tank's only 3,600 gallons. Maybe if we had a bigger tank, we could do something like that. But it does not. When you've got yachts like this one, we have a yacht tank with 1,300 gallons of fuel. You get 3 or 4 of them, and you get 3 and you're empty, or more than that. So it don't take long to do this. The savings for the rest of the time, Public Works and Utility, based on the fuel we used last year, you would save $36 by going with Dime. The heat oil for the library, you'd save $58 by going with Dime for the whole year. We generally pass hours off on the people that's buying fuel. So this time, I would like to recommend that you authorize the town manager to execute all of the fuel service to Pep-Up, a contract with all fuel services from Pep-Up.
Can I have a motion for that?
Second.
Second. Open for discussion. Is there any question?
Yeah. Do we have to advertise this contract as individual fuels? Couldn't we just advertise a contract for all of the fuel and propane that?
We do. We break it down. We could, but it's still within the bid tabulation. They have to know what they're bidding on. So each price comes with a different thing. So if they're bidding on all fuels in general, then you just can't throw one price or whatever. We have to know because we resell it. So for us to resell it and keep our markup value on it, we need to know what the markup is, what the refinery is.
Yeah, but if you had it set up so that they gave you individual pricing, but the total, could, it's got to be something now that you have to award individual contracts for each fuel.
You could. I mean, that's up to council.
No, I don't want to.
No, you don't have to. You don't have
We
to.
get a better deal if we had an exclusive.
No, I'm trying to avoid this because we have a tendency, when we get bids we don't like, we award to the next to lowest bidder. And we've done it in Public Works and Utilities contracts as well. And I think we need to avoid that.
Well, I don't know how you do it with, if you can come up with a way to do it.
Well, that's why you're there, is to come up with a good, smart way to do that.
Well, that's true.
They have to know, you have to give them a mix of gallons of each.
Right.
You know,
Well, we provide, how many gallons we use of each thing. We provide, for each department. That's how come I figured out, that I know what public works and utilities use and what the difference was.
But could you set it up such that you only accepted bids from companies that would bid on all of them?
Yes,
And that way,
Yes,
yes,
Yes.
then the dime doesn't provide something, so they just don't bid.
I misunderstood.
So, you know, if you got three companies, then you could compare apples to apples and just award it all to one because their overall contract, when you add it all up with all the quantities that you asked them to bid.
Yes, we can do that.
most likely, we could do that in the future, most likely we would only have one bidder.
Well, I guess the other way you could approach it is allow them, give them a choice of bidding on individual fuels or bidding on the whole thing. That maybe if we'd say, bid on the whole thing, we'll award it to one person, we get a break because they're selling us more.
Well, that's what we've done by bidding the whole time, but by each, well, we sell, the harbor itself, we have 4 different things. We have diesel by transport, we have diesel that we actually pump, we have the regular gas with ethanol and the non-ethanol. They all mark up very different, like 43 cents is your markup on the non-ethanol because they have to truck it from Richmond all the way up to Annapolis and all the way back down to us. So, and the rest of it's like 13, 12 cents. At the time, in their case, it was 60 some odd cents. But it's just, every product varies depending on where they have to get it from. And the way the bid goes out, it's to the lowest refinery. And that's how they charge us. They charge us by the lowest refinery of that day we get fuel for each segment. So we get a tabulation sheet at the end of the month. We keep a track of what the refinery rate is, what it's supposed to be, or what they're charging us. At the end of the month, they're required to send us what the refinery rate is, and what their markup is, so it's got to match up. So that's the other way of keeping them honest, but everything's different. It's a revolving door, and everything's at so many different prices and stuff. So.
Any other questions, comments? There'll be no further questions or discussion. I'm going to call for a vote. I believe we can do this. We don't need a roll call vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, thank you so much. Waste collection and disposal services contract extension.
Maybe this is no longer here. So this is a fairly easy one. We awarded the contract to Davis Disposal, and that had contract options or extensions on it, 3 of them, and this is the first option, which would go into effect November 1st through next October 31st, and you see the rate there that is already budgeted that way. So this is just essentially a formality unless we want to rebid the contract, which I would not recommend because I believe last time Davis was the only bidder.
They didn't even bid last time.
Yeah, we had
It
to
was
go
out
out
of
of
town.
Yeah, that's right.
Are we allowed to extend this without going out for a rebid?
Yes. Contract.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Contract's got the options in it.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Did I go too fast? I'm sorry.
That'll be quick.
I really,
I will talk to Mr. Panic.
all right. Sorry about that. Next is reappointment of planning commission.
All right, the planning commission serves as an advisory body to town council for planning related matters. The commission meets at least once a month and consists of 6 members, each serving 4-year terms and a representative from town council. 2 commissioners, Bill Strand and Andy Balkultz, have terms expiring on October 31st, 2014. Both have expressed their interest in continuing their service on the planning commission for another term. Staff recommends that council reappoints Mr. Strand and Mr. Buckholz to the planning commission for another 4-year term.
Make a motion to reappoint Bill Strand and Andy Buckles to the planning commission.
Second.
Any discussion? Joe, you sure? Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is reappointment of Board of Zoning Appeals member.
All right, Board of Zoning Appeals hears zoning appeals and reviews variance and special exception applications. The BZA meets on an as-needed basis and consists of 5 members, each serving 5-year terms. Julia Parr's term expires on October 31st, and she has expressed interest in continuing her service on the BZA for another term. Staff recommends council reappoint Julia Parr to the BZA for another 5-year term.
Second. Any discussion, comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next is appointment to the Harbor Area Review Board.
The Harbor Area Review Board oversees the town's harbor area and has the power and authority to issue or deny certificates of appropriateness for construction, reconstruction, substantial exterior alteration, raising or relocation within the harbor area. The harbor meets on an as-needed basis and consists of 7 members as follows. 3 citizens, each serving 5-year terms, and 1 representative each from the Town Council, Historic District Review Board, and 2 representatives from the Planning Commission. On October 6th, Lori Klingel tendered her resignation from the harbor effective immediately. At the August 21st, 2014 regular meeting, Council approved by a majority vote naming Paul Skolnick as an alternate to the harbor to fill any future vacancy on that board. Staff recommends Council's appointment of Mr. Paul Skolnick to the harbor to complete Ms. Klingel's unexpired term, which runs through December 20th, 2017.
Motion?
Make a motion that we appoint Paul Skolnick to the Harbor Review Board to complete Mrs. Klingel's expired term, which runs through December 20th, 2017.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, comment? Being no comment, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. And we're finished with new business. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
We're going to go on to mayor and council comments. We'll start with Mr. Madden.
I was asked, where we stand with the marking of the beach, the boats coming in.
We have the steps laid out. It's just when, essentially when we pull the trigger, the problem is, and unfortunately Holly was not here tonight, but the geography of the beach is going to be changed once the dredging occurs. So we'll see if we can get, I forget how many millions of cubic yards of sand we're going to pump up to the bunch. It's a bunch of them. We'll see if we can get from them an estimate of what the reshaping will look like. I doubt they're going to want to provide that, but we'll. What I'll have Rob do is lay out the steps that are going to be required. I think council will want also to consider beside marking no boating to also consider a float line. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I think somebody needs to do a little bit of work on it because, and this is your time we're using, the number I remember is 86,000 cubic yards, and it's a lot of sand. It may be too much.
But we wait till we get to it.
I think. No, answer a question.
Okay,
I think it was 86,000, yeah, it was good.
Well, Steve, it disappears in a very short time. It's all down to Fisherman's Island.
We know we need to work on this.
But it's in the process, that's just what it's done. And the other thing I would say about the, I heard somebody sent a letter in that there's nothing on the north end of the beach about swimming at your own risk and things like that. And come up something, somebody sent an email to the town, didn't it?
There's nothing on the north end.
The north end of signs on the beach.
Well, let me check, because we.
Was a sign up there, same as the one on Southie.
Yeah.
About 3 of them, really.
And every breakwater's got a sign on it that says, well, that as well as approaching deep water.
Something came
I'll
out,
check.
there was an email that came in on that, that's what
I'm gonna check it, I'll check it.
Thank you. And to think about what should we put anything else up about swimming at your risk?
Well, we, next month,
Okay.
you're gonna get a brief about some improvements that we're planning at the south end of the beach. And one of those will be moving that existing informational kiosk that has no information in it with 2 new panels that the Coastal Zone Management Commission is providing, and with a cover over it. And one of those panels will be beach safety. We're going to dedicate to beach safety.
We're having a work session on this next month.
Weekend.
Maybe we need to add it to a work session.
Sure.
Yeah. I think rather than going through this year,
Okay.
have all the information up. Anything more? Okay, Mr. Godwin. This is town.
I wanted to just remind everyone that the Friends of Library events are next week on Tuesday, the 21st, from 3 to 5. On Thursday, the 23rd, from 5 to 7. Saturday, the 25th, from 10 to noon. And at noon, there will be the raffle drawing. I encourage people who care about our library to come and have a little finger sandwich or a drink. This is one of the presentations to show your support. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wendell.
Yes, Mayor Proto. I'd like to,
I'm sorry.
Frank, we have tickets for raffle.
Okay.
I just like the council members all to, sorry, Frank, buy a ticket.
I'd also like to remind everybody about it.
Go ahead.
I'd like to echo Councilman Bannon's concern about safety. I would like to go in anticipation of a workshop or in conjunction with that, our town planner could do some research on what other nice towns with beaches, what is their level of education involved with beach safety. And I, for one, go down to the beach. I've seen the new signs, that's definitely a step in the right direction. I saw them actually today. But usually people need that warning when they're actually in the water. You know, up on the boardwalk, you know, I mean, that might be good for some, but I think historically, on the south end of the beach, Panhandle Pass, where the fishing pier heads south, and the jetty kind of does a little S to the south. That's where a lot of the drownings have occurred over many years. And years ago, there was a swimming hole there. Anyway, I would think it needs to be a pole in the water, so when you're in the water going past a certain spot where it becomes dangerous, and then you will warn at an appropriate point in time, versus it, you know, maybe not reading the kiosk sign. At any rate, I think that I'm excited about the dredging. I guess I'll refer back to the last time we did this. We didn't think about how to keep that sand on the beach during the winter, and had a lot of it up on the boulevard, and had bulldozers coming. So in conjunction with the dredging, and I hope we get plenty of sand, and we start taking measures as if there needs to be plantings or whatever steps that's going to maximize the retention of the sand, and do that as well. Because engine so many years ago, that wasn't done, it had some bad results.
It has been done in the last probably 5 years. Every winter, Public Works has put up sand retention screens. And
I'm talking for a dredging.
Oh, yeah, sure.
In conjunction with the dredging. And how far, if you're on, say either, for the corner there in Jefferson, how far out will this, how much sand do you anticipate? Are we going to double the size of the beach?
As I said, I don't know. And we'll ask the Corps of Engineers whether they can give us an estimate of the new profile. I couldn't calculate.
Didn't it go all the way up, there used to be a pound pole way out. It went all the way up to that pound pole, and they did it in 87 and 88 when I moved down here. And then the next year it was, the north end was right back up to the.
So I hope hopefully the jetties will help with that, but they'll stay alive longer and stay where it's supposed to.
Let's hope.
So I would like the planning commission to do some of, and our planner to do some same kind of level of intensity of finding facts as we did for the chicken ordinance. I would like to take that effort and steer it toward beach safety for this upcoming season. See if that moves the needle in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
That's got it.
Thank you very much.
I'm good to go.
You are. A quick question for you, since I think you might know this answer best, people on council. Do you know how many drownings there have been in, say, the last 10 years?
I know of 2.
The last one was what, about 10 years ago?
5, 9.
No, I worked here in this in 98,
98, 99, something like that.
So we have not, no drownings acceptable. We have not had a large number of drownings here, that, to my knowledge. It's been very
Not that I'm
small.
aware of.
Okay.
But what the key to it is that back 15 years ago, we had 100 people on the beach, now we got 400.
It's true. It's true.
Wasn't one of the drownings, didn't a young teenager have a convulsion and drowned at the north end? That's what
I remember that one. I remember it was a 21-year-old drowned that there. He was a non-swimmer.
We have to fix this. We have to do the best we can to fix this. I just wanted to be sure you knew how many there were.
I think, as far as I know, it's only been in the last 15 years, 2.
Yeah, 12-year-old.
We brought in a few at the Coast Guard station that drowned, but they didn't drown here.
Mr. Bennett?
I have no comments.
Thank you. I have very few comments. Thank you, council, for everything. I want to, one question. Did you all get forward the update from Mr. Springstead? You all got that, so.
One of the attachments, I think.
Well, I don't know, but we may, I'm assuming we'll be getting some information pretty soon that we can discuss.
One thing, Mayor, before you close there, I don't know whether everybody's aware of it, but FEMA has changed the flood zones in the town of Cape Charles. And for those of y'all that it doesn't make any difference, it does make a difference to me, that I pay $2,500 a year flood insurance versus about 42 once it gets, when you're not in the flood zone. So council has to adopt FEMA's flood zones, and that's supposed to be effective January 1st of that year.
They changed.
Well, we are on the phone, that's not really true. I was on the phone yesterday to the day before yesterday to the FEMA people. They say it's going to be effective April, it's whenever the town council and the local governments approve, which has to be done by May. Okay.
We've worked on the floodplain ordinance and the DCR, whatever, has reviewed it. Like Rob said, he just got the comments back from them, and he's going to make the changes and give it back to planning, and then it's going to go back to the DCR, and then it'll come to council once we get approval from DCR.
You need to work on it. It's costing me money.
It's been worked on. FEMA is telling Rob that it's going to be effective May 2015, the changes.
I think FEMA's people that Rob talked to, the people that I talked to on the phone, got different ideas than this.
You were at the CDC You went to the CDC, they gave you the wrong.
Okay. All right, I have no further comments. We have some announcements. October 25th is Trick or Treat with Myra Pete at the Town Harbor. October 28th will be my office hours in the Civic Center from 6 to 8 p.m. November 6th is a Town Council work session. November 11th, the town offices will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. November 13th is a Town Council work session, and the 20th is a Town Council regular meeting. Now, those work sessions are tentative at this point. Those are all the announcements I have. Joan, do you have something else?
Well, just going on the, normally we announce the hours for trick or treating. Usually for.
They were in the executive.
Well, it's going to be after the paper, but on October the 31st, I think it's 5 to 8, 4 to 8. 8 is the third meeting.
Okay. Okay.
If you don't know what it is, at least look for it.
Right.
Or it was at.
It's already published when we do it.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, the October 10th issue, it has an announcement of all the Halloween activities, including trick-or-treating hours, as well as the announcement about the updated clubhouse.
Should just one?
Vote to do adjourn in a second.
Oh, discussion?
No. You can talk afterwards.
No, just a second. I'm commending Mr.